Hi, okay, welcome back. This video I'm going to talk about our children, okay, and this is all the children of the world. Whether you have children or not, it doesn't matter. It is all of our responsibility to do right by these children that are coming in. Now, I'm probably going to get a little bit emotional about this because I just get very emotional about a lot of things when it comes to moving into unity and empowerment and standing in your power and us all coming together and collaboration. It's just all so fabulous and wonderful, and it just makes me want to cry with happiness when I see us all coming together and different things like this. And this is important with our children. You know, there is the saying, the children are our future, and it is probably overused quite a lot, but it is very, very true. And you know, the other thing that I've put on there, that it takes a village to raise a child, it does, and we are that village, and we all, every single one of us, need to step up. Okay, so there's quite a few things I want to talk about with our kids. It's about our mindset towards them, the way we are bringing them up and how our parenting practices have changed, but also about the different children that are coming in. And since, I was going to say, my son was one of the first of the new generation children, and he was born in 93. So I think it's sort of anything up to really anybody who's 28 and below, you're all part of the new wave of the new generation children. And you're coming in with, and each generation that comes in is coming in with a very different operating system. And basically, some sort of from the age of 28 downwards, it's been a step-by-step thing generationally, where things have begun to change, the operating systems have begun to change, the structures within them have begun to change, and they've been slowly moving away from the duality paradigm and moving towards the unity paradigm. It's why we have so much to learn from our children, and it's why these children are very, very different and confuse a lot of people. But we have a huge responsibility to these children, and there's a lot of things that we need to do, and these are some of the things that I'm going to address today, because it's really, really important what we're doing and how we're treating our children, and what that is going to create for future generations and for our society as a whole, and for our move into unity. So I want to look at the children. So we have our children for around about 16 years old, for 16 years. That's a really small amount of time if you look at it in context of their whole life. So they're going to live to about 85, if not more. And we have them for 15, 16 years of that. And we have them in concentrated form only for the first 7 years. After that, they kind of start going off and testing the world and its boundaries in lots of different ways. So we need to look at the fact that this child that we have in front of us is going to live for 85 years, and we only have them for 15 or 16 of those years. Our job is not to protect them from the world. Our job is to prepare them for the world, and to prepare them to be valuable, balanced, loving, compassionate human beings who have a great deal to give to their community and to their world. So we have 7 years and then the 16 years to really lead by example. Lead by example in a heart-centered way. So the 16 years that are with them is a really short amount of time to show them how to treat each other, how to treat themselves, the other thing is as well, in those 16 years, we are that protective layer so that they can test their boundaries. They can test their own personal power. They can test cause and effect in the world. If I do this, what is the reaction? How is the world going to respond to me? How is the world going to respond to my actions? And while we have them in this protective little hothouse, this is when they try these things and where they're getting a feel of what the world is like and how they need to contribute to that world. So we should be really, really careful of what we are feeding into these children, okay? So we need to be the living example, the living inspiration for our children. And the other thing that we need to understand is that we don't see that finished product until they're in their 20s and sometimes even later. So it's not as if we're getting any feedback, okay, as we're going along. Sometimes we do, but a lot of the times we don't, because they're still testing. They're testing their boundaries. They're trying different things out. They're accepting what we're saying. They're rejecting what we're saying. It's all part of their learning. And what we need to do as parents and adults is to provide a secure environment for them to be able to do that, okay, to be accepting of what they're doing. What we're seeing in this little snapshot is not going to be the end product, because they need to put all of these things together, okay? So we need to give them the space to be able to do this. And the other thing I just want to speak about really quickly is the fact that, and then we'll go back to some of the ways that we treat these children, but these children are coming in with new operating systems, new ways of seeing the world, new ways of doing things. And what are we doing? We're putting the old paradigm on top of them. We're trying to force them back into that box, that cage of a duality. And we're telling them that they're failing. What's wrong with them? You know, I was never like this. My grandparents were never like this. If I acted like this with my mother, she'd tan my hide. And all of these things. And what we're doing is we want a new way. We want a new system. We want a new world. We feel powerless because we can't understand with our duality mindset how we're going to do this. How are we going to bring in a new government? How are we going to bring in a new economic structure? How are we going to change the fact that this is all about the pursuit of money and that the 1% have everything and they control the 99%? We want this new future. We want this new way. And then when these children come in with these new operating systems that are going to help us restructure these things, help us dissolve the duality and bring in the unity, or rather they're not so much dissolving the duality, they are just bringing in the unity. When they do that, we ask, what's wrong with you? Why are you being like this? You need to go back and be this way. And we're like, no, we need to follow their lead. We need to see where they're coming from. And the thing is, we're looking at our children from our minds, from our fear. And these children are coming from their heart. And I think if you look at these children, and everybody's saying, oh my goodness, they're so intelligent, they're so switched on, they seem so much more fully formed from a much younger age. Rather than being in awe of your children or being frightened of your children, see this as a collaboration with your children. You're teaching them, they're teaching you. Because you still need to teach them about moral codes of conduct. You still need to teach them about cause and effect. You still need to help them, follow their heart and follow their intuition. And it isn't easy. It isn't easy to be a conscious and active parent. It isn't. It's easier to put them in front of the TV. It's easier to put them in front of the PlayStation. It's easier to not engage or interact with them. They need you. They need you playing games with them. They need you talking to them, explaining the world to them. Even if it is just from your viewpoint. And this is where you can get into a great dialogue with children. And even when they're really young, they have some great perceptions of the world. And you can really learn from them and have some great discussions, because this is how you see the world and this is how they see the world. And rather than it constantly being, no, this is the way you see the world, just be open to the fact of how they see the world for a little while and what can you learn from that, because they are bringing in the unity paradigm. And that is the thing, we've asked for this, we want this. So why, when it starts to come in, do we think, oh, this isn't right, let's go back to the way it was. You need to be like this, you need to be like this. This is the way I did it, this is the way my parents did it. That's not the way that we need to move forward, because these children are very intuitive, very sensitive. They feel the energy. So this is the thing as well, why a lot of people are like frightened or slightly intimidated by their children, because their children are picking up on your energy straight away. They're reading your energy and they know so much about you from your energy. So they seem very wise, very insightful. And a lot of the children you see, they just look, they just watch, they're taking it all in. And a lot of the times they do look at us as if to say, why are you doing that? Why are you running around being like that? And this is the thing, when we look at these children as well, and we're thinking, well, you know, they don't seem to be putting in a really hard day's work. And, you know, if you want all this money or you want all this success, you've got to graft and graft and graft and graft and graft and graft. And it's really, really hard. And they're going, no, we want a work-life balance. We want to live. We've seen you on this treadmill. We don't want that. There's more to life than that. They're about working together. They're like, we don't care if you're bigger than, better than. Let's all work together. Let's all work together, produce something awesome, have loads of fun while we're doing it, and then have plenty of time off to enjoy the money that we've got and the money that we're earning. Is that not a better way? Whereas we're not. We're looking at them and we're seeing them as lazy and sensitive. But what we have to remember is they've got a unity framework, but they're still living in a duality. So this is so difficult for them. You know, when we're constantly trying to squeeze them into our old paradigm and they think in a fundamentally different way, we're causing depression in them. We're causing anxiety and fear in them. And we're causing a kind of like self-loathing. What's wrong with me? Why can't I fit in? You can't fit in because you are bringing in a new way, and we don't want you to fit in. We want to create a space for you to show us, to help us create this new paradigm. So this is the thing, it's really, yes, we still have to be the parent and we still have to show them, you know, that there are consequences to their actions, and that, you know, because they've still got these duality conditions within them, not as many and not as entrenched as we have, but they still have them in them, and they're still learning from their parents that to be racist and to be sexist and to be controlling and to be manipulative, you know, to steal, to abuse. We see these things in our children. And they aren't born this way, they learn this from us. And this is why the last video was important as well, because it's important for us to become consciously aware of what we're putting out there for our children, what our children are picking up by listening into our conversations. You know, whether we be on the phone or whether we're around having coffee with friends, our children are picking up on this kind of stuff. And we just need to be a little bit more aware of what it is that we're putting out there and what they're picking up on. The other thing is this new thing where children are the absolute centre of our universe. And children are given everything and they're really indulged and they're told how special they are all the time. And this does a huge disservice for children. Because first of all, when they grow up, they're not the centre of anybody's universe. Oh no. Oh, hang on. I'm going to have to leave you a minute. I just need to go plug myself in. Okay. Yeah, this does them a great disservice, because when they're brought up for those 14, 15 years, 16 years, and every whim is catered for, they don't have any responsibilities, they don't have to do anything, they don't have to do any chores, they get what they want. Even if their behaviour is really bad, they get what they want. All of these things does a great disservice to children, because as they grow up and find out that they're not the centre of anybody's universe, they are disappointed, they're saddened, they go into depression, they're frustrated. because this is not what they're prepared for. And this is what we need to do. Yes, we need to build some fabulous memories with children. We need to do some great things with children, and we need them to enjoy their time and feel safe and secure. But we also need to prepare them for the world. And this is what a lot of parents don't do. And so we have a lot of really ill-equipped adults out there, okay, who aren't prepared for the world. And this leads to anger and frustration and disappointment and anxiety. You know, we've got in the UK, we've got a high rate of young men committing suicide. Very high rate, because they're not taught how to be men and young men in this society. You know, it's shoved down their throats about what they're not and how they're lacking, but they don't know how to be in this new society. And this is where we all need to step up, okay? We need to help and support these guys, because the boys and girls, because this is a new paradigm that we're moving into. And yes, they're coming in with new operating systems, but they need us to help them. They need us to help them with the structure. They need us to help them with their journey into the heart. So if you look at the journey that you're going through at the moment, this journey of self-discovery, of going into your heart, finding out what is important to you, finding out your personal power, finding out, you know, releasing the fears and the anxieties and all these triggers and core wounds and everything that we have. Think of our journey, and then think about how we can do this for our children, how we can give them that support before they've built up decades of wounds and hurt and conditioning. You know, why don't we work with them now, so that they don't have to break all that stuff down later on? They don't have to heal all those wounds later on. Why don't we help them as they're growing? You know, help them with their emotions, help them with their boundaries, help them with cause and effect, help them find out who they are, help them come from their heart. And one of the main things we do is we lead by example, we lead by inspiration. So this is the thing as well with when we're not actively participating with our children, when we're giving them what they want all the time, we're teaching them, and they may seem like really little things, but if you think between the ages of 1 and 7, a lot of their structures and foundations are formed. Okay, this is the basis in which they start to interpret the world. So I had an incident with a child, and he was hitting me in the face repeatedly with his teddy, and I kept saying, can you not hit me in the face, it hurts me. Carried on doing it. It was very much, this is my personal space, this is my physical being, I am telling you no, stop doing that. He continued. So I removed the teddy from him. Now, there was no other consequence for him, and I was kind of then treated a little bit by him and a sibling as if I was this mean, nasty person. And nothing was explained to the boy that you do not have a right to hurt anybody else. You do not have a right to repeatedly hit somebody when they're telling you no, and they're telling you that it hurts, and they're asking you to stop. Okay? You have to look at the picture this is building. What foundation and framework is this teaching this child? And especially when the consequence was he then lost his teddy. However, he very soon got his teddy back again. So again, this is teaching him, look, you can do what you want. You can lay your hands on somebody and hurt them, and that's fine. You can continue to do something to somebody when they tell you no. And then all you have to do is be charming and wait a little while, or be cute and wait a little while, and then you will get back what was taken away from you. What is that teaching our children? Consequences are consequences. If we go out there into the world, and this is the thing as well, when we're doing these things with our children, okay, so they're in the bubble of being at home, you're laying those foundations. This is the way that you get your own way. This is the way that you interact with the world. And then they get out into the real world. So say they get their own way by bullying or manipulation. So they go out there bullying and manipulating those around you, and then someone bigger and meaner and more manipulative comes along. Or whatever they're doing is illegal, so they get arrested. There are consequences in the real world. So what are you going to do for your children? Are you going to build that solid foundation for them? Are you going to teach them that their actions have consequences? Or are you going to indulge them and allow them to do whatever they want because they're cute or they're funny, or they're going to have a temper tantrum that is difficult to deal with? And I know these things are hard. I do. I found it very difficult bringing up my son. So I know how hard these things are, and I know we're only human. But we need to start bringing our conscious awareness back into what we're doing and what we're teaching these children that are our future, that are the ones that are going to be bringing in this unity paradigm. And this is the beautiful thing with it as well, is they have these amazing, they have such an awesome baseline. Bring that out in them. Okay? And our job, as I say, very much is to produce well-adjusted unity children who are prepared for life. So there's a smooth transition between leaving home and going out into the real world. So it's not as if they all of a sudden, it's a bit like my parents' generation. Okay, my parents' generation, the men very much did nothing. So they would leave home and go to their marital home, because they were not equipped. They didn't cook, they didn't clean, they didn't do any of those things because that was what the woman did. Whereas I brought my son up, and I was a single mother for a lot of that time. And so my main thing was, if I died tomorrow, he would be coping with the loss of his mother. So I had to ensure that he was good on every other level. So whether that be like the life insurance so that he wouldn't have to worry about money, but then it was also the fact that he could cope with life on a practical level, that he could cope with his emotions, that he had tools and resources that he could use to help him get through life. And that is what we need to be looking at for. That's what we need to be aiming for all of the time, of how can we equip this child to become a fully functioning, valued member of society that contributes something to society as a whole, that makes the world a better place. So if you go back to the video that we had before and the things I was talking about there, and this is where we're having to go in and reapply this consciousness and become more consciously aware. How about we bring our children up to be consciously aware in each moment, so it's as natural to them as breathing. And the thing is, they have that operating system already. So what you're doing is you're supporting the new operating system. You're not plastering on the old duality operating system onto them. So this is the thing, the children are coming in thinking outside the box. They can teach us a huge amount. We can teach them a huge amount. We keep them safe and can have, give them the conditions to explore who they are, to explore their world, and how they have an impact on their world in a very, very positive way. Because these children are amazing. They really are. And we just need to step back and just look at them outside the box of duality. Look at them as bringing in the future that we are desiring, the unity future. And then we support them in that. We learn from them, they learn from us. So this is I really wanted to talk about children today because it is really important. And we just seem to be missing a trick all the time when we're kind of, we're indulging these children, we're telling them they're special all the time. And this is the thing, it's a bit like with the counselling and the coaching and the development course and everything else that I do. A lot of the time, I provide the conditions for you to learn. And I will then guide you in ways to make your own discoveries. Because if I tell you, it's not the same as you discovering it for yourself. So it's the same with when we're constantly telling our children they're special. We kind of need them to understand that from themselves, because they're taking it on in a head level. I'm special, I'm better than, I'm entitled. Whereas when they discover their own specialness, their own awesomeness, that's completely different. And this is what we need to be doing a little bit more for our children. So just remember, when we've got those kids, we have them for a really short space of time. And this is the thing, it isn't just your children, it's your children's children, it's your neighbour's children, it's your friends' children. Learn from them and teach them. Teach them or allow them to express their heart-centeredness. House that in them. Because they really are our future and they are amazing. And we don't want to destroy them by taking this amazing intuition and sensitivity that they've got and trying to force them into the duality paradigm, or putting them in a bubble of being little princes and little princesses and not equipping them for the world. Okay, I will see you all probably about 1:30 for a guided meditation. And of course, with the guided meditation, you can connect in at any time, because I know it's around about 8 o'clock GMT, 3 o'clock EST, that the full moon lunar eclipse, new moon lunar eclipse starts. But I'm busy at that time, so that's why I'm going to do it around about 1:30. Okay, speak to you later. Bye.